Hello everyone, welcome back to my JavaScript series. I hope you're doing great and learning JavaScript consistently. In our previous video, we learned how JavaScript changes the styles of HTML elements using the style property. Today we're going to learn another important topic in JavaScript DOM manipulation, changing HTML attributes. HTML attributes provide additional information about HTML elements. Using JavaScript, we can read, change, add, remove, and check HTML attributes dynamically without refreshing the web page. This is how websites change images, update links, enable or disable buttons, modify placeholders, and much more. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to work with HTML attributes using JavaScript. In this video, we'll learn what are HTML attributes, why HTML attributes are important, getAttribute, setAttribute, removeAttribute, hasAttribute. Practical coding. Examples, real-world examples, common beginner mistakes, and interview tips. So let's get started. Section 1. What are HTML attributes? Let's first understand what HTML attributes are. HTML attributes provide additional information about an HTML element. They define the behavior or properties of an element. For example, an image uses the src attribute to specify its image. A link uses the href attribute to specify its destination. An input field uses the placeholder attribute to display helpful text. A button can use the disabled attribute to prevent user interaction. Without attributes, many HTML elements would lose their functionality. Section 2. Why changing HTML attributes is important. Now you may have one question. Why do we need to change HTML attributes? Let's understand with some real-world examples. Imagine you're shopping on Amazon. When you click another product color, the product image changes instantly. JavaScript changes the src attribute. Imagine you're watching YouTube. When you click subscribe, the button changes and sometimes its properties are updated. Imagine filling out a login form. JavaScript updates placeholders, enables buttons, and validates user inputs. Every modern website changes HTML attributes dynamically. That's why changing HTML attributes is one of the most important concepts in DOM manipulation. Section 3. Now let's learn our first method for working with HTML attributes, getAttribute. As the name suggests, getAttribute is used to read or retrieve the value of an HTML attribute. Sometimes, instead of changing an attribute, we only want to know its current value. That's exactly what getAttribute does. It allows JavaScript to read the value of attributes such as src, href, alt, id, class, title, placeholder, and many more. One important thing to remember is that getAttribute does not change anything. It only returns the value of the specified attribute. Simply remember, getAttribute is used to read the value of an HTML attribute. Syntax. The syntax is very simple. Element.get. Attribute. Name. Let's understand it. Element represents the HTML element selected by JavaScript. getAttribute tells JavaScript to read the value of an HTML attribute. Inside the brackets, we write the attribute name inside double quotes. JavaScript then returns the value of that attribute. HTML. Example. Let's create a simple image. img tag id equal to logo, src equal to logo.png alt company logo. Here we have an img element with the id logo. The image contains two attributes, src equal to logo.png, alt equal to company logo. Now JavaScript can read these attribute values. JavaScript example. Let's read the src attribute. Let image equal to document.getElement by id logo. Let image path equal to image.get. Attribute src console.log image path. Output. Logo.png, JavaScript successfully reads the value of the src attribute and prints it in the console. Explanation. Let's understand what happened. First, JavaScript selected the image using getElement by ID. Next, it used getAttribute src to read the value of the src attribute. Finally, JavaScript stored the value inside the variable image path and displayed it in the console. Notice that the image did not change. JavaScript only read its attribute value. Another example, HTML. Let's read the href attribute of a link. Anchor tag ID equal to website href equals to https://www.google.com. Visit Google. JavaScript. Let link equals to document.getElement by ID website. Let website equals to link.getAttribute href. Console.log website. Output https://www.google.com. JavaScript returns the value of the href attribute. Explanation. JavaScript selected the anchor element. Then it used getAttribute href to read the destination link. Finally, it displayed the URL in the console. Again, JavaScript only reads the attribute. It does not modify it. Real-world example. Imagine you're using an e-commerce website. When you click on a product, JavaScript first reads the product image path using the src attribute before displaying it in a larger preview. Similarly, social media websites read profile image URLs, video websites read thumbnail URLs, and forms read placeholder values. All of these operations use getAttribute to retrieve attribute values. Section 4. Now let's learn our second method for working with HTML attributes. setAttribute. As the name suggests, setAttribute is used to set, change, or add the value of an HTML attribute. Unlike getAttribute, which only reads an attribute, setAttribute actually modifies the attribute. If the attribute already exists, JavaScript updates its value. If the attribute doesn't exist, JavaScript automatically creates it. This makes setAttribute one of the most powerful methods in JavaScript DOM manipulation. Using setAttribute, JavaScript can change image sources, hyperlinks, placeholders, IDs, classes, titles, disabled buttons, and many more attributes. Simply remember, setAttribute is used to add or change the value of an HTML attribute. Syntax. The syntax is very simple. Element.set. Attribute name, value. Let's understand it. Element represents the HTML element selected by JavaScript. setAttribute tells JavaScript to create or update an HTML attribute. The first parameter is the attribute name. The second parameter is the new value we want to assign. Once JavaScript executes this statement, the browser immediately updates the HTML element, HTML example. Let's create a simple image. Image tag ID equals logo src logo.png alt equals company logo. Here we have an img element with the ID logo. The image contains two attributes, src and alt. Now JavaScript can change these attribute values. JavaScript example. Let's change the src attribute. Let image equal to document.getElement by ID logo. Image.set, attribute, src, new logo.png. Output. The browser now displays new-logo.png instead of logo.png. JavaScript successfully updates the src attribute. Explanation. Let's understand what happened. First, JavaScript selected the image using getElement by ID. Next, it used setAttribute, src, new-logo.png. Finally, JavaScript replaced the old image path with the new image path. The browser immediately displayed the new image. Notice something important. JavaScript actually changed the attribute value. Another example, let's change the placeholder of an input field. HTML example. Input tag, ID equal to name, placeholder equal to enter name. JavaScript example. Let input equal to document dot. Get element by ID, name, input.set. Attribute placeholder, enter your full name. Output. The placeholder now displays, enter your full name. Explanation. JavaScript selected the input element. Then it updated the placeholder attribute. The browser immediately displayed the new placeholder text, real-world examples. Let's see where setAttribute is used. Imagine you're shopping on Amazon. When you choose another product color, JavaScript changes the src attribute to display a different product image. Imagine you're watching YouTube. When you click another video, JavaScript updates the thumbnail and link attributes. Section 5. Common beginner mistakes. Mistake 1. Using setAttribute instead of getAttribute. Many beginners confuse these two methods. Remember, getAttribute reads the value of an attribute. setAttribute changes or creates the value of an attribute. Choose the correct method based on your requirement. Mistake 2. Misspelling attribute names. JavaScript cannot update or read an attribute if its name is incorrect. For example, writing href instead of href, or writing camel case placeholder instead of placeholder. Always use the correct HTML attribute names. Mistake 3. Forgetting to select the HTML element first. Before using getAttribute or setAttribute, you must first select the HTML element. Otherwise, JavaScript cannot find the element and will throw an error. Mistake 4. Expecting getAttribute to change an attribute. Remember, getAttribute only reads the attribute value. If you want to change an attribute, use setAttribute. Section 6. Interview tips. A very common interview question is, what is the difference between getAttribute and setAttribute? Answer: getAttribute reads or retrieves the value of an HTML attribute. setAttribute creates a new attribute or updates the value of an existing attribute. Another common interview question is, can setAttribute create a new attribute? Answer: yes. If the attribute doesn't already exist, setAttribute automatically creates it. If it already exists, JavaScript simply updates its value. Another interview question is, when should you use getAttribute? Answer: use getAttribute whenever you need to retrieve the current value of an HTML attribute such as src, href, alt, placeholder, or title. Summary. Today we learned one of the most important concepts in JavaScript DOM manipulation, changing HTML attributes. We covered: what are HTML attributes, why HTML attributes are important, getAttribute, setAttribute, syntax, practical coding examples, outputs, real-world examples, common beginner mistakes, and interview tips. Now you understand how JavaScript can read, create, and update HTML attributes dynamically without refreshing the web page. Outro. You now have a solid understanding of JavaScript DOM manipulation, changing HTML attributes. In the next video, we'll continue with changing HTML attributes. Part 2. We'll learn remove attribute, has attribute, practical coding examples, real-world projects, common beginner mistakes, and interview tips. If you found this video helpful, like this video, share it with your coding friends, subscribe for more JavaScript tutorials. Keep learning, keep coding, keep growing. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Yeah.